Shake your head.
Hi, Heathens.
Hey, Heathens.
What's up, peeps?
Oh, is that too bright? Do we like that?
Actually, that looks very nice. Other than like our lights and our glasses.
I know. If I could just line it up with my eyes.
My eyes don't sit that close together. Is it doing it?
Oh my God, it was so cool.
Oh man.
So, Cassie, what are we talking about today?
Lurve.
Learn,
Lurve. Lurve and
learn.
self-lurve.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
I have listened to Nicole sing this for probably 10 minutes now before we recorded it. So you're welcome, people, that you get to experience what I get to experience.
Yes, yes. You're the only you're one of the only people that can actually handle all of this.
Yeah, that's true. Because a lot of you follow us still, and like, it's kind of bonkers, but also I find it very entertaining that you guys obviously find us entertaining.
I can't believe it. My God.
We're almost to 100 followers.
I mean, I find myself entertaining, but usually it's only me. I'm glad I found you, buddy.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, and you too, heathens. Like, my God, right now I think we're at like 91 followers
Nice.
on Spotify, which is like
Are,
really
are we gonna
cool.
have are we gonna have to pay the extra like 9 people some money?
Yeah, seriously. Make our friends like follow us.
You better follow me
But
right
freaking follow
now.
me right now. Yeah, it's crazy that like like how numbers people are like, "Oh my God, I just hit 10,000. Oh my God, I just hit this big ass number," that I'm like, "Dude, sitting in a room with 91 people listening to me talk me so nervous." Or, like, I don't think like we think about like how big of a freaking amount of people that is. That's like that's getting close to wedding
A
size.
wedding, yeah. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. This is much better than standing in front of them, though,
Oh
let
no.
me tell you.
Yeah, no, this is great. I'm glad that like you guys listen to us without us being right in front of you or watch us without being right in front. It's pretty nice.
That's pretty nice.
It's pretty nice. The day will probably come when we'll have to talk in front of people, which I think we'll be fine with by then, but I like this form. Feels very natural because we're kind of weird and it allows us to let the weird out.
Just a little, just a taste.
A nice little sprinkle of weird for your soup.
That's right.
Alrighty. So
Love.
I found so much today.
How could you not have
I
been
mean,
emotionally like there's so many definitions, right? Like, and some of it's kind of like
yeah, and some of it's a little too real where I was like, yeah,
crying.
like don't no, no, I don't wanna. I don't wanna. I figured we'd start off as we usually do with the definition of love, which this one actually I thought was pretty damn good. Like another one that Webster and I aren't gonna have to fight about.
Well, that's nice. No
And
fighting on a love day. That's all
I
we
know,
can ask for, really.
right? So the definition of love is an intense feeling of deep affection.
That was very safe.
It is. And I'm like, you know what? If I guess if you have to define it without like going like in the deep, like we're gonna do, I
Yeah.
feel like that's not too bad, Webster.
No, it was very safe and simple, which I appreciate.
Right. I would say the same. But like as you were just saying, there's many, I guess the best way to say it is there's many different levels of love, right? And
Mm-hmm.
different variations and what I guess you could say is like different vibrations of love.
What is your definition of love?
I don't think I could simplify it. There's like a lot I've learned I've said this many a times and especially to you, like Eckhart Tolle is huge in my life as of now. And
Mm-hmm.
I really love the way that he describes love. and especially self-love, and, like, I put a lot of that in there because I just think that I agree with there's so many different kinds of love that it's hard to describe what love is, because I always say that I can't stand that the English language has one word for love when
Mhm.
multiple other languages have multiple words for love because there's different kinds of love.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
There's so, we take this hugely complex feeling and emotion and reaction to this broad spectrum of like, I can't define it because I don't have anything to compare it to, right? Like,
Yeah.
I need that thing or that person or that experience to define to help me define it. I can't just do it with like out of air, right?
Yeah, it's I guess if you asked me to define my love for a certain person, that would be different than to another person or even to like my cats.
Mhm.
Like, you know,
Mhm.
I guess is the best way to say it. It's just such a it's so complex.
The only thing I did see that really was really kind of nice and simple, just one word, and what he said was time.
Hmm.
What you spend the most time doing. And then I challenge you, listeners. I was going to say readers.
Readers.
I don't know why. Uh, what I challenge is if you're doing something that takes up most of your time and you don't love it, something needs to change.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But, what ifs? What ifs? Everybody's got their everything. That's what's kind of nice is that you can kind of do that, right? Like,
Yeah. Um, I agree with you, but at the same time, I also agree with what you said without like any challenge to that, because I do agree that if you're not doing something that you love in your life, like it can cause a lot more issues than it's going to cause good, especially to your mental health.
mm-hmm,
Because like the story you're going to create in your head is that you're like not doing what you should be doing, and like you're just living a life that's like mundane and like blah blah blah. It could be so many things that can just be so detrimental to your own self that
mm-hmm,
it's scary to make a big change, but it's also good. Cause like I was doing that. I was going to school for nursing and like got super fucking depressed on top of other issues in my life that were happening. But that was a big one. I hated it. I was not bad at it, but it didn't, I wanted to take care of people in a different way. So then I went to teaching thinking that would be better, still just as depressed.
mm-hmm.
And what was terrifying was the thought of leaving college to go to school for hair.
Yeah.
That was fucking terrifying because my whole life, one of my clients and I were talking about this the other day, that millennials were really like, almost every millennial I know that has talked about their college experience or before their parents push for nursing. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
so many of us that have had this experience of being pushed into nursing where it's like you're going to make great money and it's a great career, and while yes it is, for me it was like not the kind of connection I wanted with people, and I just
Right.
knew it. So then when I was going to hair, I also had to fight my family on it, and it was terrifying, but you know what? After time of my grandpa especially seeing that I like love my life, I love my
Mm-hmm.
career, I'm happy in it and I'm doing really well in it. It was like one of those things where it was like, wow, I'm so glad I did that, because I don't think I would have found this path or like what I'm into now and the type of healing that I can do now without it. I sure
Mm-hmm.
as hell wouldn't have found you. I wouldn't have
Nope.
been in Ann
Well,
Arbor.
maybe I would have ended up in the hospital somewhere.
Yeah, or I guess I would have ended up in your chair potentially, but
Oh
like,
yeah. But you weren't even in Ann Arbor. You were in Jackson.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like we didn't me growing up, we never thought about Ann Arbor. We always thought about Lansing. So it's so funny because I like Ann Arbor wasn't on my radar, and then it just happened that way. But it's like
Mm-hmm.
finding something that you love to do, especially for a career, I think is so important. And if you don't love your job, but you don't really want to move, finding things outside of that that you love to do,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's hugely important.
Well, and that's one thing that Derek has taught me. One of the guys that's teaching us magic. He said at first he said um that Americans want to do they want to take everything that either they love or they find spiritual and they want to make money off of it. They try to find a way to make money off, right?
Mhm.
And at first I was like really ticked off about like, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like you got to make money, blah, 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 right? And then the more I sit with that question, because that was in March. So the more I sit with that question, because it pops up in my head every once in a while, the more I can see it because anytime that I do something, I'm trying to like find a way to like sell it.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, damn. You know those people that say stuff and you're like, well, he's stupid and he's wrong. And then like 6 months later, you're like, fuck me.
Mhm.
God.
Yeah, that's a rough one. That's a rough comment.
Right?
Not accurate, but also just
Right.
I don't want to think about that. Um, okay, so I watched some Teal Swan, I watched some Eckhart Tolle, and then I did a lot more research on top of that. And I
Mm-hmm.
just find it so funny how different spiritual people are. Because Teal Swan says that love is to take something as a part of you. And when you love something, you pull it towards yourself. It's the opposite of fear, and fear causes separation. And she also said this, which I thought was a really cool statement, but she says separation is an illusion which is a part of reality. In a universe of oneness, illusion is also a part of our reality.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about taking all of that because when you aren't in love, you're separate.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the illusion of being separate. And then with Eckhart Tolle, I feel like he just took what Teal San was saying and just took it onto another level of like brain hurty.
What did he say?
So I watched a couple videos and compiled it all together because I watched one about like how we love ourselves without losing ourselves and what is love, and then like love in relationships. And he was saying that there's different levels to love. And there's that love that's it's very needy and you feel like you can't live without them. And it's very much rooted in the physical and the emotional, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the one it's which I can agree with this because I've definitely experienced this twice now. It's the kind of love that's like of a lower vibration because it can easily be swayed into the opposite of like for 2 weeks you're in love, you need them, you want them, and then
Mm-hmm.
something happens and now you hate them and you're angry towards them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Eckhart,
Oh,
Eckhart, why?
why, Eckhart?
Why? Then another one that he was talking about specifically with losing yourself is the love for your child, which brings on like a strong emotional bond.
Mm-hmm.
And that can cause a sense of losing yourself because you give, 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 give. And it can cause a sense of or like a loss of self, a sense of loss of self. There
Mm-hmm.
it is. So then he was talking about the highest level of love is spiritual love. And that doesn't mean like, just so that you heathens are very aware, that doesn't mean like spiritual, like, oh, I love this spiritual. It means like feeling it on a spiritual level versus like the emotional bond level. And it can be described in many ways, but it comes from knowing how and what you are and recognizing yourself in others. Who and what you are,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, not how. Typo.
Mm-hmm.
And recognizing yourself in others. And that comes from self-love, comes from loving yourself, which also comes from recognizing that self-love for yourself is different from it, actually, you know what? Let me just read it because I'm gonna fuck it up. I know I am. So, because like when you got all this information and you're like, me,
It all tries to come out at the same time.
yeah, exactly. So, he was saying that when you say I love myself, there's two identities within that statement. There's the I, and that's the one that's doing the loving, and then myself, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
one that's receiving the love. And he was saying how when you start moving up the vibrational ladder and you start moving past like the separation of I and the one receiving, the giving and the receiving, you move away from the relationship within yourself and you start to become yourself. And there's no longer the I love myself, it becomes I am. And
Oh, that's
now,
super cool.
right? And now that love's a
Yeah.
part of us and not separate from us, there's no longer an opinion about who we are. We just are.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh. It's like,
God, I can melt right into that.
eh, yes, 100%. And I can
Mm-hmm.
honestly say, like, on my journey of healing, which is fucking never ending, let's be honest, you guys.
It's not
I've,
supposed to end.
I know, right? It's, I've never, I've noticed this more where, like, you start to realize that people are separate from you and you can love them because you're recognizing yourself within them. And it's no longer just the emotional bond, it's the spiritual bond of like, you are a consciousness, I'm a consciousness. We're both this from the same essence. And you're mirroring me, I'm mirroring you. And I can
Mm-hmm.
love myself within you as well as love myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like crazy how that kind of like love changes and it almost becomes unconditional.
Yeah, it does because you understand. It's an understanding, right? Like
Hmm.
I understand that where you're at and I understand uh where you're going, right? Because you kind of seen it before, maybe a maturity, if you will.
Yeah.
Uh it's it's interesting because like I feel like the opposite of that would be like projection, I think is how you would see it, but it's not quite love yet. So like projection would be like, I see this in you. If you're aware that you're projecting, right? So like I see myself in you, but it's always mine was always like the bad qualities.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's worrying, I see myself worrying in them, right?
Hmm.
And I don't know when that actually changes or what to like, just being aware of it, I guess.
Yeah. Like something else that he said to help like understand this, like for the more like the higher level is like realize it's like saying the ray of sunlight realizes it's not separate from the sun and emanates from the sun, but every ray of sunlight is a separate entity. So it's like realizing you're from the sun while I'll realizing the rest of the rays are from the sun too. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I get it. Oh, I get it. It's past the emotional, it's past the physical.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just the essence and just realizing that they have consciousness as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, to get
That's
to that
so cool.
is ugh, ugh, ugh. So let's see. He also was saying that because he of course was taking like listener questions during this
Mm-hmm.
and he one of the questions was about how what about people that say they don't experience love or they don't know like what love is. And he's like, when you don't have love, you're disconnected with who you truly are. You're disconnected from the universal consciousness. And he said, when we start looking at loving ourselves, we have to look. I had a lot of typos, obviously. I'm struggling to read this. We have to start looking at loving ourselves. We have to look at whom we love within ourselves and who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can start like moving into the more healing phase of love. But also, we have to realize that we have a narrative in our head that tells us about ourselves, that keeps us from being our true selves. And it can be triggered and cause us to question ourselves or fight against ourselves. And once you've achieved that recognition of that and you get to
Mm-hmm.
start moving away from the narrative, um, that's when you can look at the other. like he was saying, such as your child or your partner, and then you realize that there's still the emotional bond there, but more importantly, you start to realize the essence of the other, which then you'll realize is in yourself and another being. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the essence, not the emotional bond. And when you you then don't lose yourself in another, but instead recognize yourself in the other. And he's like, the emotional bond will still be there, but the underlying will be the recognition of self in another.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, that's so
He
good.
sometimes he is like he says something stuff so profoundly that like it doesn't even like you're like, wait a minute, I need like 3 days to think about this before I could even answer. Right? Like
Hell yeah, dude. I've been reading The Power now for how long?
6 months.
Years. I think it's literally been like a year because I was telling Nicole the other day I was listening to something and it was about relationships actually and the power of now. And I was just like, I had to keep listening to the same thing so that I could hold it in my head because
Hmm.
I was telling her also this because she has this new book she's reading. It's like you know what all the words mean separately, but
Yes.
then you put them together in a sentence, and I need this sentence so I can dissect it and put it back together so that it'll make sense in my head. I
It's
feel
so
like
true because you got to take every word and be like, wait, what's okay, and the and okay, and
yes.
that's just one sentence.
Try listening to a whole like if you guys have not listened to his book or watched any of his YouTube videos when he's answering these
Watch them.
questions, I'm not kidding when I say a 7-minute video will make you be thinking like crazy. You'll be so,
Hmm.
you'll just, you have to dissect it. You'll probably have to listen to it a few times and go back or pause it because, like, his little 7, 8 minute videos don't last 7 or 8 minutes for me. There for like
Yeah.
25, 30 minutes trying to figure it all out.
Well, even like the Power Now, as many times as I've read it, I still go in there like it's a new fucking book. Like I just can't even like it's like, did I hear this before? I know I've like listened to this a couple times, but I this did somebody come in and change the book
Right.
while I was gone?
Yes. Oh, he's so good and in touch and just talks so beautifully. And I
Mm-hmm.
just love the way he looks at things. And I'm sure it's not him, it's probably consciousness coming through, but you know what I mean. I'm just
There's
like,
such a peace.
yes, absolutely. There's like this next one really made me go, oof. I even wrote it, I even typed it in. I was like, oof.
Ugh.
So he talks about how can we love ourselves and to create this I am, this wholeness within. So he brings up having a mental image of ourselves. And he says if you want to know how to not have a mental image of yourself, look at your cat or your dog. They don't know what they look like or how they act. They don't have an opinion of who they are. They just are who
They
they
just
are.
are, right.
And he says, of course, like they don't have the mental developness that we have, but it's so beautiful and so meaningful that when you really let that sink in, he had me staring at my cats like, you lucky little bastards.
Oh, totally. There's a sense of freedom when you watch a cat or a dog in the best way. Like they don't care if they're wet, dirty, or smelly. Do you know what I mean?
Right?
All the
Pongo,
insecurities that, yeah, his ear could be flapped up. He doesn't give
he doesn't
two
care.
shits.
He looks
Mm-mm.
so funny. We put like Trinity put little scrunchies on his ears. We thought he looked so cute, so funny. He literally could care less.
Yeah, he was that. And as soon as you're not looking, then he goes, probably because it feels weird, right? Like,
Yeah. I just love that so much. And I'm trying to let that sink in because our
well, think
self,
about it this way. And this is going to be very, you know me, I have no fucks. But pooping outside or showing your butthole to everybody. Do you know the kind of like unlike oh
just being naked in front of others.
yeah. Just naked. Didn't matter. They don't care.
Mm-hmm. Don't care.
Don't care.
Clean themselves.
They can't be bothered by it.
Can't be literally not bothered at all.
Mm-mm.
Like my cats make some. My one cat Lilith, she makes like the craziest little like and like clicky noises when she freaking sees a bug that she wants to catch or a bird she's trying to call to her. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
she sounds so funny.
Don't care.
Doesn't even think about it.
Mm-mm.
No thoughts. I'm like, oh, a life without self-image. Mind blowing.
It is mind blowing.
Jesus.
What? Oh God. I almost lost it. So what is
Oh,
so what is love?
um, I have a few other statements that I found. I love this one. Love is unity and its wholeness. When you feel connected to others and closer to like the one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I like that one.
It's yeah. It's the spiritual love is it's even hard. I feel like it's hard as well, but a little easier because like there is no real definition to it. So you kind of like you pick it up, right? Like it's a feeling
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
a reaction, I guess, right? Like, um, I always like it when I look at the sky and the clouds. You know how like the sun will go pierce through the clouds just right and everything's the right color?
Mm-hmm.
There's a feeling behind that, right? I don't know.
Are you saying like that's when you feel like the love and the whole like the connectedness?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's moments in life that like hit you and make you realize like holy shit, like we're all in this together. Where it's
Right.
like that's definitely one of them. Or like, I don't know, you're sitting at a lake and it's so beautiful and you're just like, we're all sitting here looking at how like the ocean, that's a good one.
Yeah.
When we were at the ocean in Santa Monica, I was just content as hell sitting there watching people enjoying the ocean, enjoying the freaking sun and the sand and like just happy as can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, dang, what a beautiful moment. Like we all just get to experience the ocean like this.
Right. Just sitting there and like spending time with it in your thoughts in a beautiful place in like,
Oh,
yeah.
that was I feel like every time I'm at the ocean, I always feel that though, where it's like it makes me realize like I don't know, just the world is beautiful and like we can all experience that feeling, but the ocean makes me feel that. And I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
else to explain it other than the fact that the ocean is so vast and so beautiful. And every person that goes to it, you sit next to it, there's just no way you can't feel like its pull and like its magnitude and like its
Mm-hmm.
beauty and like the power of it and like just the sound alone. I love waves crashing.
Especially when it's like really big stuff, like storm, ocean kind of stuff. Like you start to really feel the magnitude of like how big. And I don't know. I guess the only way I've experienced that is watching like movies or watching the Discovery Channel too, like how big it is and how like sometimes to put it in perspective because we're so little, right?
Yeah.
Like how big, like I remember watching a Discovery about a shark and it just happened. It was a great white and it happened to be named Nicole. No,
Conveniently.
conveniently. I was like, oh, cool.
Coincidentally.
And they were tracking her all over the place, and there was this one part where she's like miles and miles away from anything, just out in the open, nobody with her, like a desert of the sea, right?
Hmm.
Like there's nothing out there. And I'm like, it blew my mind because you know how like as humans we think we need so much, right? Like we need the hospital, we need grocery stores, I mean, God, like even for me to get out of bed, I need to put clothes on, right? Like I need food, I need water, I need shelter, I need air conditioning.
Yeah, or just like our little pedally things, like I need shoes for this event.
Right, right, right. Like just that, all of that, right? And she's out there with nothing but what she was born with. That's it. Middle of nowhere. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful, really.
It really is. It really is. Because even like one more step is like, deers or bears, they'll have their kids in the forest. Could
Hmm.
you imagine if we had our kids in the forest? Like we have it in a sterile environment,
Yeah.
right? Not that
I
I want to go out and birth a kid in the forest now. Let me just get that straight. But like, I mean,
I guess also if I was an apex predator though, it could be a little bit different, right? But also like even like I feel like we with this kind of conversation, it has to be said that we did come from a place of much simpler times, like where we were living from the earth and we were living with the earth. And like when I come back next time, I want to come back in a life where I'm like, I don't know, in a much simpler, peaceful time. Maybe as an Indian person or something, Native American back in like the way back days, just to
ugh.
experience it. Because I don't know if I have yet or not.
Oh, well, you should do a
Yeah.
PLR.
Yeah, definitely
I was
should.
trying to make sure I got my letters straight.
You should do a ABCD.
AB 12 S bar. I know a lady that will do it for you.
But she could do it by herself. Probably could try, but I think I'd have a
It
hard
would be
time. Like,
weird. Yeah.
yeah.
You're walking down.
All right. What are you seeing? I'm seeing.
You have to get up and go to the other side of the couch.
I run over to my couch, write it down, go back, lay back down. Why'd I cross my arms?
Because that's how we do this.
Yes. That's how that's our meditation. It's like how the vampires sleep in their coffins.
It's actually the sign of Osiris.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Holding this stuff.
He has resurrected. I wonder that's why the vampires, like, when they would come up after they would, like, be dead and come up like this, it's a sign of resurrection. Look at that. Making bridges, making bridges. Connecting the dots. Connecting the dots.
Blowing minds.
Blowing minds.
Blowing minds and taking names. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I guess back to like the mental image thing that he was talking about. Our mental image can keep us from the love that resides within, right?
Mhm.
Because most of us, I dare say almost all of us, have a negative self-image within. And we first have to realize that we live with a mind partner that criticizes us.
Oh my God.
It's the best way to say that is a
It
mind
really
partner.
is. Seriously.
Because I mean,
Are you gonna wear that?
yeah, yeah,
You gonna wear
exactly.
that?
Yeah, exactly. You should have said this. How dare, oh my God, you said that. What if they think this about you? And like, what if they think that about you? And what if they're talking bad about you? And like, you shouldn't have said that. You should have said something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
fucking harmful.
Like, was I a dick? Oh my God.
Yes.
What if they all hate me? I think they all hate me.
This is no easy feat,
Oh
I want to preface, but we have to start
my God, sister.
recognizing that partner inside, that voice inside, and we have to fight it with positive thoughts. And it requires a lot of repetition for the positive thought
Yeah.
part to start winning.
Yeah, I agree because I feel like I've kind of gotten a little more handle on that. At least like because I would sit and race. It was just a racing like what if they said and then they said this and then what was it? Well, what am I doing? Why aren't they text me? Just in this constant like cycle.
Yes.
And I just recently started with I don't have to overthink this right now.
Ooh, I like that.
It's super simple. And you'll go right back to overthinking, right? And
Yep,
then you go, wait, 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 wait. I don't have to overthink this again. Or right now. I don't have to overthink this right now.
I like that. 'Cause
And it
there's no
helps.
yeah, I was gonna say there's no way that wouldn't help because immediately you're like, "Nah, sit down, you're done."
Oh, right.
Because then you can go on to something else. It's like you've given
Mm-hmm.
yourself the mental permission to go on to something else.
Yeah, it's like a little reset or rest or pause button.
Yes, that's a good one. Um, Hecker also said this,
Oh
and
God. Big
mm,
fan. Big fan girl over here.
yeah, but this one hit me hard. Um, Having a mental self-image is ego.
Yeah, it is.
It's egotistical.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, fuck. But then at the same time, I was like, oh, that makes me feel so much better. It's kind of like if you're putting yourself down because you don't look a certain way, right? And you're walking around with like this past version of yourself or this future
Mm-hmm.
version of yourself, and you're not living in the here and now of who you are right now, you're letting your ego win. It's like
Mm-hmm.
egotistical to be like, I should be like this, and I should look like this, and I should blah, 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 and I should be working out
Mm-hmm.
more, and I should be skinny and fit and have big tits and a big ass and long, flowy hair. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like have never thought about it like that ever.
Mm-hmm.
Which, duh, like, it makes
Well,
so much sense, but also, like, fuck.
Well, that's the thing. It's part of ritual magic is to get rid of that self-image, right? Like to um even spirituality is about getting rid of that self-image, that separation between all of us. That's why the monks and the nuns and everybody wear like a simple black and you have no hair, right? You have no like outstanding features or whatever. So you all look the same, right? Because it's the one purpose is to serve God.
That makes so
Or
much sense.
I mean,
'Cause
it's
it
hard, but the one thing that's really nice about it though, especially if you're really into like um hating your body and like uh what am I close, especially like I'm getting older, right? Starting to age, right? And I start getting on myself about like, no, you shouldn't wear that. That's not appropriate, blah, 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 right? Like you're too fat for that, whatever, right? And then I remember that my meat suit doesn't really matter. And nobody cares, right? It's ego that cares because nobody out there cares. They're all thinking the same thing that you just thought.
it
They're
hits me
thinking
so
they're
hard.
oh, right. Like, but it's so nice to have these little like right now I've got these little like triggers or post-it notes. They're almost like post-it notes. So when I start to do something that's like self-harming, the post note kind of comes up and goes, hey, you don't have to do that. That doesn't matter. Nobody cares. And you're like, oh, thanks. And you walk out the door, right? Like, does it feel good? Do I feel good in it? Because that's what really matters. Because we've
Right.
all put that shirt on that we knew we shouldn't have put on because it got an itch right here or something,
Uh-huh.
or a weird button or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's scratchy the whole day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We've all done that.
I've never thought about it like ego though. Like, okay, one of my I have to tell you guys this. This is how ridiculous my brain was the other day, and I literally had to say to myself, "You are being so fucking dumb right now." I saw I don't know if it was a TikTok or article, something. I saw something on social media that airlines like Japan and Netherlands are starting to weigh their passengers because it's unsafe to
Wow.
have overweight passengers on their planes. And in my head, I heard myself say to myself, well, you're not going to be able to ever go on a plane there. Like, I was so morbidly obese that I'm never going to be able to go on a plane again. And I had to stop. I literally heard it in my head and I literally went
Uh-huh.
out loud, what the fuck? Like, are we fucking for real right now? Like, I can't, I just can't. I literally, it was so, I felt so dumb, but at the same time, I was like proud of myself for being like, what? Why are
What?
we doing that to ourselves? Like, that's so harmful. That,
Well, and it really wasn't like dumb. Like that's how we usually talk to ourselves, right? And it wasn't really you. It was your like gremlin.
well, yes, yes. But it had to be like, that's fucking dumb. We're not doing that. That's what we're not going to do.
And we're
You know what
not
I
gonna
mean?
do that. Yes,
We're
I
not going to
do.
fucking see something like that and then use it as a way to harm ourselves.
Oh, and it's so hard. Like, there's got to be some facts in this world. Like, right now, there's no boundaries to anything. And it's kind of hard to kind of like venture through because there's no boundaries and everything's bleeding onto each other. Like, I don't know how to not offend somebody. So I walk around on eggshells a lot of the times because I just don't know. Like, I know something's going to offend you and I don't know how to proceed. So I'm almost like a deer in headlights at some point.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and like that, like you understand it. It's like, okay, if we can do it in a way that is non-offensive, which I don't know how to do that, but I'm just saying, well, I probably do. But like, if we're talking about being too big on a plane because it's unsafe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how do we do that in a way that is non-degrading?
Yeah, not harmful. I know there.
Right.
I had so many opinions about that specific
Because
thing.
at first you want to be like, fuck that shit.
Yeah, that's not what I did at first, but yes, also I was like, what the fuck? What is this? Like, I don't know, like it just there's so many levels and layers to that one where it's like I have so many opinions about it in different ways that I think about it, but then one way I'm also like, okay, well that's not an answer either. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's such a complex issue. It's like, Jesus.
It really is. But and then my question is why now? Right? Like, why now? Did
Yeah.
they get new planes that we don't know of? Or
I don't know. I didn't read enough. I just read the article and I was like, well, you're never
yeah.
flying again.
Never flying again. You can't go anywhere. I'll cancel your plane ticket.
I was like, God damn it. um, so another way to cultivate some really good self-love, and this one's also super fucking hard, is letting go of outside opinions. Because
Oof.
nobody can tell you how you are to be because they're
Oof.
not you and they
Mm-hmm.
don't know you better than you know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody will ever know you better than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And man, the outside conditioning and the opinion, it's all opinions. There's
Yeah.
no fact to it.
Mm-mm.
It's just that is the one of the hardest things to, especially with social media right now, you guys being so fucking big and filters and Facetune and all this stuff, celebrities out here modifying their bodies for pictures, like
Mm-hmm.
random regular people doing it too. And I'm like, it can be so harmful. And that is so hard to let go of, like being not skinny enough for the skinny girls. You're not big enough for the big girls. You're not big enough. You're not thick enough for the thick girls. You're not even average size because you're not average size for the average girls. And then you got all these other things. And then for boys, it's like you're not fit enough. You're too skinny. You're too big. Oh, you have a dad bod, but guess what? You're not dad bod enough to be a dad bod.
Right. You're too tall. You're too squishy. Like you don't have
You,
enough hair. You
you
have too
have too
much
many
hair.
muscles. Like for
Right.
especially for women, like, oh, look at her arms are so fit. Like that's so big, big. And I'm like, Ugh, it's so heavy. And that's such a hard one. I feel like we're constantly fighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially like something that I've learned over time to not do is comment on people's weight, even if they've lost weight, because I watched this be really detrimental to one of our close friends. She
Mm-hmm.
was going through a really bad mental time and she was only able to eat saltine crackers and she lost a ton of weight and people were like, "Oh my god, you look so great. What are you doing?" And she's like, "I have literal like it's eating away at me anxiety. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing. I'm not able to eat and if I do, I feel like I'm going to vomit." And I was just like, "Oof."
Ooh.
Like not commenting on people's weight has felt good for myself too, because it makes me not
Yeah.
think about my own. Do you know what I mean?
Right, right. No, because I've noticed a lot of people, one of my clients started taking that one drug, the for it's made for diabetics, but then they found out that like it'll help you
Oh,
lose weight too.
Ozempic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've heard a lot of people talking about this lately.
Um, and like I have clients come in and they're like within 4 to 6 weeks, they're completely a different person.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow. But like you know, I say they look good only because it's more their attitude that's changing and not so much like they look brighter and happier and like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, buddy, you look really good. Like,
And it's also
and then
like
they tell.
at that point though, they've already confided in you, right? Is like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, I'm gonna do this because I think this is gonna make me feel better." And then you're like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
you do feel and look better. Like
Yeah, yeah.
especially from
You
an empathic state, I bet.
mm-hmm. And that's the first thing you notice is how good they feel about themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm like, go for it. Do what you need to do to feel good about yourself, right? Because I mean, we it's funny because I thought about this for a long time and we will never know what somebody else is actually thinking, right? Even if I told you everything, there's still things that are going on that you will never know that I'm thinking.
Yes.
What, and it could be because it's subconscious instead of being conscious or whatever, right? And it's so important to find your way, empower yourself and find your way through this good housekeeping up here because this is where we're always at, right?
Mhm.
And good housekeeping is not necessarily what anybody else tells you, right? This is your journey. You have to put
Yes.
yours in certain places and you can ask for guidance and you can ask for opinions, but this is where you really have um all the power into do in what you really need to and what really makes you happy. And this is for me a lot of times this is self-love is just having that like I've been doing a lot of like science experiments on like do I like this because I am an empath because I can feel everything. The main thing in that is that I don't know who I am. Like, if I'm with you too much, I like exactly what you like. Like,
Mhm.
I'll even have a taste for it. Like, oh, I really want some whatever, right?
Mhm.
And except what is that stuff you buy from the gas station? Except that, whatever that is. Like combos. It was some Funyuns or something. God, what is it that you buy? I can't remember. Anyway, that's
I
a side
can't
note.
remember either. It'll probably pop up later and it'll come up
Yeah, 'cause I'm
randomly.
like, ew. Um, but like these science experiments of like, is this me? Is this you? Oh,
Pickle
what is it?
chips.
Pickle chips. Yes. I was like,
I'll
"Ugh."
fuck some pickled chips up, man. I'll fuck them up. I love them. She hates them. She hates them, and I think it's so funny. Yeah, you know what I kept saying is like Funyuns because people think Funyuns are weird, and then I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
even fucking like Funyuns. What am I thinking?
What am I?
Pickle chips.
Pickle chips. That's right. Oh, that stuff, man. No way. Anyway, but that's the thing is that like I had to really seriously sit down and find my boundaries and put them up and make little reservoirs of like where my emotions, how do I feel about this? Do I really feel this way? Do I really not feel this way? And
Mhm.
taking stock about like, and I'm still doing it. And I still like, even yesterday, I had a whole thing where I'm trying to be a sovereign being and control my emotions. And I got triggered in the laundry room because, there's a person there that I don't necessarily like. And because they hold power over me, and I threw away my power and I gave it to them. I stormed out dramatically. It wasn't too dramatically, but it was dramatic nonetheless. And I forgot to turn on, I put in my quarters into the dryer and forgot to turn it on because I was such in a state and walked out there huffily, and then so I went back in there to get my towels and they were still wet. I'm like, oh. So I was like, okay, I see you. It's fine.
Mhm. I feel like we say this a lot, but the whole conversation about like love and self-love and how self-love can turn into bigger love and you can love others if you love yourself. This whole conversation, I feel like everything that we have talked about, you guys, and we say this a lot, but I want to bring a bigger awareness to it is you need to be questioning
Nye, nye,
yourself
nye, nye, nye,
all
nye.
the freaking time, man. All the
Absolutely.
freaking time. Because that's one, how you get to know yourself, right? And then you start
Mm-hmm.
really learning who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what you're into, where you need to heal, where you are healed, where your strengths and your
Mm-hmm.
weaknesses are at.
Mm-hmm.
And just like little things, like, I
Like, why'd
don't,
I do that?
why'd you do that? Why'd
Right.
I do this?
Why did I do that?
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Like, why
Yeah.
are you feeling this feeling? Where is that actually coming from? When you really, really start questioning yourself and you start questioning the things you do, the things you feel, the reactions you have, the way
Mm-hmm.
you move in life, all these different things, you start getting down to the basis of it. Like, you keep going deeper and deeper. Cause, like, say, there's a lot of things, especially therapists talk about this, is like there's hard things that come up when you're trying to cultivate more self-love, right? And like one of them that I experienced is I had a huge a huge lack of self-worth. This
Mm-hmm.
came from a situation that happened when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it because it's like you have this situation happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
That causes that feeling, and then it just layers on top, man, and it
Yep.
layers and it layers. So then something triggers it, you question it, you pull off that layer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a fucking never-ending onion,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yeah,
just keep
because
pulling layers.
till you get to the root.
Yep.
I have something that came up just recently that download about childhood trauma.
Mm.
So I was thinking about, well, I don't know what I was thinking about, but what I thought was, I think I was thinking about something. Well, my childhood has come up a lot lately. So, you know, and a lot of our, hurt or wounds are from that time period, right? When we were being developed. And, I kind of got to this point where I really tried to understand and forgive myself because I was a child. I was like, wait a minute. I can't hold myself responsible for any of this because I was a child.
Mhm.
I am the child, right? I was supposed to make those mistakes. I was supposed to that's what you do as a child.
Yeah.
It's like it's all about and it was just this big huge moment for me to be like, oh,
And then when you realize that some of the issues that you have about yourself come from you just being a child,
yeah, just a child.
like that situation where I was like, that's what my therapist had like basically said. She's like, that wasn't I got hit in the face with a soccer ball. Okay. I was a very athletic kid. I got hit in the face with a soccer ball. My mom and my grandparents did not like each other. My dad's grandparents and my mom. They were on the opposite sides. My freaking lip got busted. They both came raining. They got into a fight. And I'm just sitting there bleeding. And
Mm-hmm.
that internally caused this thing where it was like, it doesn't even matter if you're bleeding, you're not worthy of
You're not
love.
worth it. Right.
I was a child.
Right.
And it's like, you're so right in that, where it's like, she was like, Cassie, you were in second grade.
Yeah.
You were worthy of love. So like we rewired that to be like a plaque in my head that says you are worthy of love.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a huge thing that helped my self-love journey because of that. You're right. Like this whole like we can't hold ourselves accountable for things that happened that causes these like
Yeah, these
little
little
freaking birds in our head that just want to
ye
peck at us when we were
absolutely.
children.
They want to make us small. They want to take pieces away from us. And it's like, because like, especially looking at my childhood and then looking at Trinity's childhood and kind of like, you know, putting them together, or if I don't like the word compare, but um at least analyzing.
That's a great word for that.
Yeah. And I realized that that's what brought me to that moment of like, wow, like I am like I was a like that because I was a child, and like with your example perfectly is that you should have had your mother or your grandparents, either one, both of them actually should have been only focused on you and your well-being. Are you all right? Can I get you something? Let me get you some ice. Like, oh, it's not that
Mhm.
bad. Like, we'll just wipe it up and you can go back in. Like, like how that scenario, that scene should have went, you know. But the
Yep.
hard part is I feel like unless you've been actively working to peel this ego part off of you, you'll never see that part because it was more important for them to be right at the time than it was to help,
Mhm.
right? And it's a really hard thing because like there's a lot of times where I get triggered and I want to be like, "Well, you did this to me." And every time I do that, I'm like, "Oof." So I step back and go, "That's not true. That's a trigger for me.
Mhm.
It had nothing to do with them."
Mhm.
And I had to like so yeah, it's funny because digging up all this like, with especially with self-love, like I don't even know if I knew what that was or what it looked like or what it felt like.
Yeah, I agree. Cause like, so when it comes to self-love, I think the best way to look at it is like it's a daily practice almost. It's not
Mhm.
like a finish line. It's not like something that we're just gonna like we just achieve and then it's there and we get the little, we get a
Trophy?
trophy
Get a
at the end of
trophy?
the finish line because there's a finish line. Like that it's a practice. It is something you constantly have to
Mhm.
practice. And I saw this too that I thought I really appreciated. Like if self-love doesn't like if the word love doesn't feel right, you could say self-acceptance, self-neutrality, even like just
Mhm.
being neutral towards yourself, like not having like this big thing that's like, you know what I mean, constantly looming over you. You could just be neutral to it, like, well, that's not me.
Right, and that's okay. Like,
Mhm.
um because I feel like as humans, we have a very small window of communication and what I can actually portray into these bigger concept things like love, right?
Yeah.
And even like when you talk about Christianity, like even that is a huge like you can't just put everybody all in one. And I really hate labels right now
Oh, me
because like
too.
whether you're talking about Christian, non-Christian, Muslim, non-Muslim, Democrat, Republican, like whatever the labels are, right? It's very easy for people to sit there and go, well, they do that because of blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, hold on. Like, did you meet that person? Like, do you know really what their like likes and dislikes, and it does it align with you? Does it not align with you, right? And I feel like with like us being hairdressers, like we do get this like window into a lot of people and a lot of
Yeah.
different like thoughts and puzzles, and each of their pictures are painted differently, right? But they still have this
Yes.
commonality to them, right?
Mhm.
And it really is. It really comes to the point of like everybody thinks, no matter where they're at, they think they're doing the right thing. That's it.
That's been one of the biggest statements that has impacted my life from you specifically is they're just doing the best they can with what they have.
Yeah.
That really started a lot of like um non-judgment in me towards
Mm-hmm.
others and myself. Like it kind of stopped the like judge, jury, like fucking executioner in me,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, no, they're they're just doing the best they can with what they have. So are you. You're doing the best
Mm-hmm.
you can with what you have. Whether
Right.
somebody thinks you are or not, that doesn't matter. It's the truth of it.
Well, and that's the thing. And some people are going to be in there for whatever reason they're in there for, right? Like, so I've really learned at this point is I've been really trying to say thank you to a lot of things, bad or
Mhm,
good, whether it disrupts my life, whether it helps my journey. I really have been trying to appreciate gratitude with it. Like even to the smallest fact of like my car, like thank you so much. And I was going to talk about this with like self-love and beauty. You can take beauty and you can be vain if you want to.
mhm.
But really where I think you and I have connected with, hairdressing and stuff like this is that we really want to change and bring people's true identity through to help them self-love themselves, to help them like even just a little bit, right? Feel better about who they are, how they look, or because it is such a huge like um staple in our society, right? Whether
Yeah.
you like it or not, right? Like, but I like I like putting makeup on myself, right? I like to give myself this like pampered. Like I put lotion on my skin because I want to, so every time I put lotion on, I try to say like I love you, and I or like whatever I'm working on for that day. Like, just trying to be like I love my skin. Thank you so much for keeping my organs in and so I won't bleed on the floor, right? Like
Absolutely.
when I shave my legs, I do the same thing. It's for me so I can feel good about myself, and not that I need to do that. But sometimes I like to play a different character and, they
Mhm.
want their legs shaped. So it's kind of, there's just these little things that we do that we take, I hate to say take for granted because that's like we say that all the time.
But I think you're right in that. It's like that goes along with like this one too, because I do this towards clients too. Like you guys got to understand, Nicole and I have known a lot of our clients for a very long time.
Absolutely.
A lot of my clients, I've only been doing hair for 7 years, but a lot of my clients have been with me almost that full 7. And I know them
Hmm.
well enough and they know me well enough to just know that this is how I am. And I do this with randos now too. If you're new to my
Hmm.
chair, you're not going to sit there and be like, do you think I should wear a middle part? Isn't that what the kids think are cool now? Because what I'm going
Yeah.
to say to that is, do you care what kids think about you? I'm
Right.
going to challenge it. So
Hmm.
this is what I have down is challenge your negative mental narrative by sticking to the facts. Do you care what kids
Yeah.
think about you?
Right.
Because
Oh,
if you do, you do.
it's totally true. And I think, I don't know if it's because America is like a teenager, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. Because I
Oh,
was
I
thinking
bet
about this
that.
today, is that, because America, I've always thought like America's so young compared to the rest of the country, right?
Mhm.
And I keep seeing this like people only mature up to being a teenager, right?
Mhm.
Like they're 60 years old and they're still in this like um teenage, well, she said this and da 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 or whatever. It doesn't even
Yeah.
matter what age they are or anything. I'm not picking on anybody, but
No, but you're not wrong.
right.
We
So
see it all the time.
And the other thing, what really brings this home for me is when I talk to women that are above, we'll say 30, um, how they want to, well, I'm getting older and my skin's doing something weird and da da da. I'm like, so especially if they're single, and what I want to challenge them with is like, okay, so because we've been programmed to think that you're going to be a spinster, you're never going to be married because you're 30, because like, and I'm all I want to say is, and I know it's rude, so I don't, and I'm like, we're not trying to attract teenagers. Like, I'm not trying to get the 18-year-old boy at 30 or 40 or 50 or 60. And they get to this point where they're like, oh, I will never find love and I'll never like find a person to share my life with. And I was like, well, hold up, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're not the only one in the scenario. You're not giving them like a chance. It's like you have real men or mature men out there that like you exactly the way you are, but we're so hyper focused on what we don't have anymore that we forget the rest of it, right? Like
Mhm.
there's 7 billion people out there and you're going to tell me there's nobody out there? Like,
So Buddhists explain suffering as two arrows. The first one is the event that happens to us. Say that in this case, it's the fact that you get denied by some young guy, right?
mhm.
And that first arrow is a painful arrow outside of our control, right? The second arrow is a story that we tell ourselves about said event. It's the suffering is self-inflicted.
Uh,
Self-love would be not shooting ourselves with that second arrow.
yeah,
And I feel like that was such the perfect way to like put that in there with that scenarios because you're
yeah.
constantly shooting yourself with more arrows of the same narrative. And we have to stop doing that and start challenging that
Mhm.
because it's like, yeah, do you care what teenagers think about you? What young people think about you? Do you want a
Right.
21-year-old person to come into your, even men and women, all of us, we do this to ourselves,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting older. I got a dad bod. Okay, do you want a 21-year-old to come up to you and that's what you think you're gonna have the best life with? Like, that's where you think you're gonna find this true love and, like, all these other things that you want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're 42.
Well, even like the fact that I was talking to somebody and they're like, oh, well, he's got to shave his beard and cut his hair off. And I'm like, to attract what?
Right,
Somebody fake?
right.
You want to change yourself so you look more appealing to who?
And then on top of it, inside of you, what inside of you is making was saying that? Who is that? Because is that you?
Mhm.
Because if that's you, man, I'm gonna tell you it's not. If you're gonna look at me and you're gonna say, "Yeah, I gotta get a boob job because my boobs are sagging and like I want to look like
Mhm.
myself
Mhm.
like 20 years ago." By all means, if you want to do that and you have the means, I'm not going to judge you. But at the same
Oh,
time, if you're going to tell me that's who you are deep down, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. I will challenge that
absolutely. Absolutely.
because I challenge that within myself all the time too.
Mhm.
Like I said, the whole freaking I'm going to be too big. I can't get on a plane.
Right, right.
Who is saying that? Because that's not me. I don't
Right.
ever really think like that about myself. Who, who said that?
Who said that? And they're out
And you gotta go.
grounded.
You're not you don't belong here.
Yeah. Go sit in the corner. My God.
Yeah, goodbye. Goodbye. So, along with all this, I wanted to talk to you about this one too, because I thought that this was a cool thing that I saw to help like cultivate practice, practicing self-love
Mhm.
is practicing radical acceptance because you don't have to love your reality in order to love yourself. We
Mhm.
love our friends and our families despite their faults, right? But it's hard for us to love our false selves, our faulty selves. And so, within the theory of radical acceptance, it's to accept our imperfect selves. To be able to do that, we have to first acknowledge our reality because what we resist persists. And if we deny what's
Absolutely.
happening around us, we're more likely to get stuck in negative self talk and invite that nasty voice back that makes us overthink and doubt ourselves.
Mhm.
I f-
Because as soon as you stop focusing on the thing that's most right in front of your face and not acknowledging it, the more it'll scream at you.
I feel like you talk about this quite often, and I'm sure you guys are thinking the same thing, the heathens listening. And Nicole talks about this all the time. You keep pushing that thing away that you need to heal, it's going to keep throwing itself in your face. The lady that yells at you in the grocery store, you guys have heard this story multiple times. And if you haven't, go back
Mm-hmm.
and listen to trauma and anger and all these other friggin' episodes we did, man.
Mm-hmm.
But like that radical acceptance of this is exactly where I'm at right
It's
now.
surrender.
It's self-forgiveness too.
Yeah, yeah.
It is that is it's
It's
so many
huge.
things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
self-forgiveness is like I feel like one of the biggest ones of it because it's like you're forgiving yourself essentially because you are this is where you're at right now.
Yeah,
And by doing that, you're going to start cultivating more self-love, which will turn into love for others.
absolutely. And the funny thing is it reminded me of self acceptance or forgiveness. You said self forgiveness. Anytime a past trauma comes up where I felt like I have like fucked up bad or I'm carrying around like that was you're a bad person because you did this. Anytime that pops up, I always am trying to say at this point is that I forgive myself for that. I forgave myself for that, right? And then swipe off. Like I ain't got time for that bullshit, right? Like not anymore. Like okay, go sit. I get it. Okay, go sit down. Like I forgive myself for that.
Mhm.
And no matter how many times it comes up, I still forgive myself for that.
Mhm. Which is also just you're accepting it. You're like, "Yep, it happened. Yep, or yep, it
Mm-hmm.
is happening again. I'm getting triggered again. I forgave
Mm-hmm.
myself for that,
Mm-hmm.
and I forgive myself again. Boom, done."
Done.
It's radical acceptance is very hard as well as self-forgiveness is very hard, you guys. It sounds easier than it is. We all know this if you are actively healing, but I think the beautiful thing about acceptance is you don't have to the radical acceptance at that, you don't have to do anything other than say, "This is happening to me right now. This is
Yeah,
where I'm at right now."
that's where
And
I'm
you don't
at.
have to like it. You don't have to feel
Mm-mm.
good about saying that.
Mm-mm.
But then if you move that in with, "I forgive myself for it."
I, that's exactly it. I remember it brings up this memory I just had, I don't know, maybe a week ago or so. I was sitting in the bathtub and I was like, nobody was home. It was super nice. And I was like, if I was looking at myself from outside of myself, I would have said like, oh, she looks really depressed. And I get really like nervous. I get no, not nervous. I get really like I always have to hold myself in like if I touch my face, I'm doing it because I'm thinking. I have to put myself in these like
I was gonna
you're,
touch my
you're
face.
like right. You're
Making
like,
me I'm aware.
I'm
I'm
aware.
listening intently.
I'm like, oh, if I'm doing this, whatever. My character fits what I'm doing, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, God, if I sit like this, people will think I'm depressed. And I'm in the bathtub in my own like house. It's not like somebody's gonna come by and be like, we're questioning your sanity. And I was like, I remember being there and doing the self-acceptance thing and being like, I'm gonna be depressed just for now, just for right now. Like I'm gonna allow myself to feel depression, to be depressed, and just lay here and just feel it and just be with it. And then, like, after some time had passed or whatever, I got up, I drained the water and like went on with my day, right? But it was just that moment of like just completely accepting and letting it almost wash over you and accepting what it felt like and accepting like it being in my life and just integrating that part of myself and bringing it forward and just kind of maybe nurturing it a little bit.
Absolutely. I feel like also you guys sometimes like we talked about this before and we'll probably end up talking about it a lot in our episodes, but sometimes like starting to forgive yourself and like just accepting things can also bring up other feelings, right? Cuz like you're basically unblocking and unloading the floodgate by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You're like no
Mm-hmm.
longer holding up the gate that says that's not happening and that's not what I'm going through.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, it can bring up a lot of other traumas and like even oppressions, I guess you could say. Like, there's just so many other feelings that it could bring up, and sometimes that can be overwhelming, and I'm gonna say it again. That could be time when it's, like, better to unpack it with a therapist that can help you,
Mhm.
you know? 'Cause, like, sometimes, like, we don't all have other people that can help us work through things, and we get it.
Right.
So, like, sometimes having that therapist that can actually help you unpack it and, like, look at all the parts of it and, like, help you heal through that, like,
Mhm.
that's what they're here for, man.
Well, because a lot of times the therapists are really good because they let you. So if you take everything out, if you take all the puzzle pieces out and really examine them, they can see things that you're kind of blind to. And that's what really helps when you start to put it back together, back in your little like sack of you. Like these are so elegant.
Your little sack of you. Oh, that was a good one.
Yep. Well, here we are. But yeah, like it helps to have somebody else look at it, right?
Yeah,
Because I know that I've had that where I was talking to somebody, um, and it's so funny how you start working through stuff and then like your clients are working to something where you can relate to this story. Like it's like, no, you made the right choice, you're doing a great job, like, and you can like fully give this person this healing that I did. I have come to this come to this epiphany, if you will. And now that my client's sitting in my chair at the exact right time, because this is what we all need to hear, is sharing this moment of like, dude, I recognize this in you. I want you to see it. And then having them be like, thank you. I didn't even think about that. Or I didn't see that part, right? Like,
yeah,
it's really cool.
it
And I
is.
think that's really what sharing and helping humanity is going to look like.
I agree with you. 'Cause we talk about this a lot, and I also wanna do, like, a haha funny because I just realized this where it's like, you guys probably thought self-love and love was just gonna be all us talking all love and light, and we're over here telling you that guess what? There's a difference between self-care and self-love, and self-love's not gonna look as cute and as aesthetically pleasing and as Pinteresty as self-care is.
Well, I mean, like, listen, we deep dive as much as we can because
Mhm.
I hate to be like that person too. But like, this is what love looks like. And I think if we stop fooling ourselves thinking that it's supposed to look like something else. Now, do I love that? Love romance and all that? Yes. Do I
Fuck yeah.
secretly watch like romantic comedies so nobody knows and I tell them I only watch horror movies? Yes. Yes. That is totally me.
Do I wanna come home to a bubble bath that's lit by candles? Duh.
Absolutely.
Who the wouldn't? Who the wouldn't? Come on. With a glass of wine waiting for me? I really don't even drink wine anymore except for an occasional blue moon, but I would happily guzzle that.
A blue moon. We just had a blue moon.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to break up with my Josh tonight.
Oh,
Josh.
Josh.
Josh brings me self-care.
Josh. I gotta love Josh.
Um, Something else I want to reiterate too, really quick, because you kind of touched on it earlier, but I want to bring it back up so you can talk about it again. Is like the whole practicing setting boundaries to build self-worth. That's going to be huge in self-care too, and self-love,
Mhm.
because setting safe boundaries will cultivate self-love. And those boundaries, when you're setting them, things to remember is you're setting them for your own pleasure, you're setting them for your own comfort, your own safety, and just to have good communication. Okay, setting boundaries is hard.
Yeah.
it's
It's
really
so
it's fucking hard,
wow.
dude.
I realize how hard recently, how hard setting boundaries are and keeping them because for me, not having any boundaries and then also being hyper aware of how people feel, this is, and I feel when I'm setting it, this is why it is because for me, setting a boundary makes me feel like I'm being aggressive and it feels like I'm being mean. Like I'm doing this because I have no like protection of myself. It doesn't matter. I can endure it, whatever it is, right? I'm strong enough. I've done it before.
Mhm.
That's the life I've had, right? Is I
Yeah.
had to put myself back behind everybody else. And this is why I have no opinions and no uh what's the I don't know, I can remember the word.
I wanna
Convictions.
say
Convictions.
oh, I was gonna say self-worth.
Self-worth too. Like this is all those things, right? Like all of
Mhm.
that goes together with this. And so right now, knowing that and this is what's really helped me is it's almost like I have attracted the same person over and over and over again that's been toxic. And they're very unself-aware. And then when I finally got to the root of that cause of why I keep attracting that person in my life, when I got to the original flavor of it, I was like, um, no, I got to put up this boundary because I already know how it's going to be. I know every step of this movie. I know I've watched it time and time again. I've watched the sequel. I've watched, the third chapter. I've watched it over my lifespan of 46 years. I've watched it. And when I finally found the root to it, I was like, oh, I've seen this before. Click. Like, but it's still, I'm struggling at this point with I'm being mean, with I'm causing harm, with like I should be nicer. I should, all these should things. And am, I know what I know. And luckily because I've seen it time and time and time again, it helps. It helps a little more to keep these boundaries up because because I have a lot more self-worth now than I ever have.
Yeah,
And I know it's worth
absolutely.
it. Right? Like I
Right.
know it's worth it and I know putting it and I know I'm reading the situation right.
Mhm.
And I know that I'm doing the right thing for me at this time for sure.
Right.
But it's not without question. It's definitely like because I'm like, "Oh, can I put that there? Can I put that there?"
Right. Boundaries are hard, but you gotta practice them. It gets easier, as you can see from everything she just said. It's getting easier than it was. Is it still hard?
Mhm.
Fuck yeah.
Mhm.
But like it gets easier over time, especially when you keep in mind that your safety and comfort is just as important as theirs.
Right, and that's the one thing that I keep forgetting is
Hmm.
that part. I mean, I it comes back, right? Like it's not like I go down a
Yes.
whole thing, but like it's the one thing that I keep forgetting is that myself, my feelings, my worth, my safety, what I am allowing in my life has been really big. And that's what's really been coming up is that what I'm allowing in my life. And
Yeah.
I'm like, No, fuck that. Come to me with a different energy or don't come to me at all. I don't
Yeah.
need this. I don't need to fix anybody else. I don't need to I'm good.
And it can just be like, it can just be as simple too as like, no, thank you.
Right.
It doesn't, because that's the other thing, you guys, is like once your self-worth starts building more, especially like self-confidence, self-love, and you start getting more to this place of love, it's easy to just be like, no, thank you, without an explanation, without
Yeah.
second thought. It gets easier. And sometimes there's situations that would be hard for you today that won't be hard for you in months because you've been doing it. And then you get to
Hmm.
that point where it's like, no, I'm good. Think so. And it's just that simple. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to feel bad when they're like, oh, really? But like, I really like wanted you to do this. And it's like, I'm good, dude. Just that simple.
Right.
And it feels good, you know?
It
And it's
does. When you first start doing it, it doesn't feel as good.
right.
Right. At least,
It's
like,
kind of scary.
It is. It is kind of scary because you almost feel like you're doing something wrong.
Hmm.
Uh, and But I feel like it's just like anything else. When the water is too cold and you walk in it, it's super cold and you're like, oh my God, it's so cold. But like once you're in it, you get more used to it. You get more acclimated to it. And it helps a lot to just keep doing it. It's so funny because it's so easy to sit here and say, like, you know, it's just like working out. You're not going to get the benefits unless you put in the time every day and
Hmm.
show up.
Hmm.
Like right now, like definitely, I think magic helped me through a lot of what I've been through in the past month. And it's so nice to be at this point where I like look forward to it. And I know it's gonna benefit. If I feel shitty, if I'm feeling a certain type of way, I know I can go home and use this tool to truly transform how I feel.
Yeah.
And it's such an amazing place to be for me at this point right now.
Yeah. I guess it just doesn't go without saying, like, you gotta remind yourself that, like, loving or at least accepting yourself is a worthwhile pursuit.
Hmm.
Like, at least be coming to a place where you're at least neutral about it. It's a worthwhile pursuit because it can turn into self love, which then turns into a different kind of love that you won't experience
Right.
without it.
Right.
Right. And like, it made me realize, like, through all of like this, like, conversation, and even just like writing it myself and now listening to you talk on it too, it just makes me realize, like, this is a statement that I didn't think I really truly understood until even just today, like going through all of this is like, you can't love yourself or you can't love others if you don't love yourself.
Hmm.
That comment just makes so much more sense because I just have never truly thought, like, it's a another duh moment, of course, you guys, but it's like one of those things
I
where,
don't think so. I think it's an amazing moment because I think it's one of the things that you carry around with you for so many years to be like, oh fuck, I get it. Right?
yeah,
Like,
like, that's what
oh,
I'm saying. It's like a dumb moment
yeah.
because it makes sense now where I'm like, yeah, of course you can't love others if you don't fucking have any self-love.
Hmm.
If you do not like who you are, you don't feel worthy, you don't have boundaries, you don't have like the you're not challenging this negative thing in yourself. How the fuck are you going to experience true love? And how are you going to experience love for others and like experience universal love or even any other kind of emotional bond if you don't even have it with yourself?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's such an amazing place to be working. I don't know. It's hard, but like I think working on yourself is a form of like self-love too, and but not in a it's so funny because I do feel like we have to touch on the fact like what self what selfish looks like and what self-love looks like, right?
Yeah.
Like selfish is putting, your needs in front of others, but not the important needs, right?
It's like the 3D needs of like,
Yeah.
you have a child and you eat and don't worry
Before
about
they
your
do.
child eating.
Yes. Yep.
Like, don't even think about it.
Mm-mm. You
That's,
totally forgot about it even,
yeah,
right?
right. It's like, it's cold out and I need my coat, but I'm not going to grab your coat, even though I'm in there.
Right.
Like, that's pretty fucking selfish. It's
You
cold
know,
out.
right. It's these things that you're not even questioning how the other person's well-being is, right? But not to the point of where it takes away from you either. Like I wouldn't now of course I would give my coat to you, but I wouldn't give my coat to you and I didn't have a shirt on at all,
Right.
right?
It's like the whole comment of how are you going to fill somebody else's cup when you can't fill your own? It's kind of like that same concept in a way where it's
Mhm.
like, if
Mhm.
you're only filling your cup and you're not concerned about anybody else's cup at all, that's selfish.
It's very selfish. Yeah.
Like, I guess the best example could be like, theoretically, let's say Nicole loses somebody, but like I'm having a hard day because I spilled my coffee and I had a flat tire and like I the cat got out and I had to go and get it and now I'm late to work. But like she lost a close family member. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of me being like just taking like even 5 minutes to be like, are you okay? Like, do you need me? Like, what can I do? Because the other things are minor inconveniences, right? Like, honestly, would that suck? Fuck yeah. But like also like you lost a person. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah, because like you're focusing on these things that don't necessarily matter in the long run
Mhm.
instead of focusing on, you know, checking in, seeing how somebody's doing, right? Like if you walk into a room and you see somebody and you were like, you're just gonna tell them something, just like your scenario, like you had all this stuff, like I gotta tell you the story. This is so stupid. But you walk into the room, but you're like, are you all right? What's going on? And they start telling you about the stuff. This is the point where your day disappears, you know, and you're fully present with this person and what they're telling you. And even if they go, depending on what it is, because sometimes I'll say like a mundane story just to make them laugh or something. But like, if it's, but like fully being present and fully hearing them about what they say. And I've had this happen to me before where somebody called me and I literally had just been fired from my job. And
Ugh.
I was posting where I was going to be for my new job, right? I was trying to figure out to be professional, to blah, 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 to tell everybody what, and I want to look good because, and I remember somebody calling me and going, I answered the phone a little bit harsh because of where I was at. And instead of this person asking me if I was okay or like like what is
E-
that? You
Even
know,
like, is this a good time?
yeah, nothing like that. And she ripped me up one side of the other, well, up one side and down the other because I didn't show up for her in the way that she wanted me to show up for her for.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there so defeated at that point because we have the phone and I was like, yeah, that's okay. It was such a it was such an epiphany moment because I'd never seen something so clear like that, right? Like you're sitting here in the state of like my whole world is going to change and I'm scared. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know what this looks like. I have no I have no perception of where the depth is in the water. And then somebody come in so blindly to not even like even to the point by the end of the call, she was like, well, I'm just gonna have to think about this friendship. And like she hung up.
Yeah, man. You have to watch that. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like almost it is. It's egotistical, really
Mm-hmm.
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And like you have to watch your ego when you're going through stuff like this. Like just going through the self-love thing, you could have something come up in the past that like pops your ego in, like that situation where it's like, it doesn't matter what you're going through, I'm going through something worse.
Right, right. It's the competition of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
my
a
wound is so much bigger than yours.
victimhood. We got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And talking of self-love, that's why we went through all these other things before, right? Is like
Mm-hmm.
to like bring us to a place where it's like we can start cultivating love and self-love, we have to go through all these other things. Like we have to watch our victimhood, we have to watch our selfishness, we
Yeah.
have to watch our ego. We have to make sure those don't take over in it and make us feel very righteous too in our
Mm-hmm.
self-love journey because
Mm-hmm.
truly we're all trying to go through it. And like
Absolutely.
you could be really harmful to another person because of that.
Yeah. It's, and that's the thing is like we really have to have, and it's hard right now because everybody's so tightly wound,
Yeah.
and having compassion for other people is really tough.
Hmm.
And we get swept away in these like, fight or flight kind of modes. And I still think that the best place to be is having actually more than ever is really fighting against the current and having compassion for somebody else, right? Like,
That fucking tried and true statement. Everybody's just doing the best they can with what they have.
yeah, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter what they believe. It doesn't matter what where they're at, like that could have been you. That probably was you 7 years ago, right?
Yeah.
That probably was you, you know, whenever. And to see, it's almost like you want to try and give people what you needed at that time in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Compassion goes really hand in hand with love, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's movable then. Like passion is movable love.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it builds things, it births things, it creates a whole new level.
I would agree. Love can be beautiful, man, but it can also be messy.
Oh, it's always messy, right?
True. Love without growth isn't like love without growth is stagnant,
It's stagnant.
I guess is the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Like it's everything is messy though. You know what? Like it all looks like this. We all try really. I know especially that we all try very fucking hard to keep everything nice and neat. I mean, I'm not supposed to look this way and I'm not supposed to, especially like being a woman, I can't be crazy. And like if I'm talking to myself or like because I'm trying to figure some shit out or like heaven forbid, like I have an off day,
It's
you
the
know,
Dorian Gray picture.
it totally is. It totally is. It's this mask that you look completely perfect,
Uh-huh.
youthful and happy and jumping
Yes.
through meadows when you're really down in the dungeons,
Rotten
with
the
the
fuck
dirt
away.
floor, right? Just rotting away, just rotting away. The insides are all rotten. And it's so hard to keep up. And, that's why I think we're all very, very tired and very, very irritated because it's hard to sit here and like hold this mask up every time somebody like, I'm fine, everything's fine.
Yes, I
I'm not
agree.
scared. Like the state of the world. I'm not scared. Fine.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're like, don't touch it. Right.
It's like Phantom and Phantom of the Opera. Don't, you gotta keep my mask on.
I gotta keep it on.
Otherwise, I'm gonna run back to the dungeons.
with my humpback. I gotta go.
I gotta go. Oh
So
man.
so watch some love movies. Feel some feelings.
Mhm.
Um, this is why I don't watch dramas though. And romantic movies is because I become a blubbering mess.
Dude, I can't even watch. We've talked about it. I can't
Ugh.
even watch Disney movies, dog. Happy
Mm-mm.
moments make me cry. This is why it's horror and high fantasy only.
Oh my God. Get this. The last one I watched that put me into like a depression mode was, what was it? Call Me by Your Name. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. It's a beautiful, like gay, like coming of age, like movie, right? It's got that Timothy Chalamet in it.
Oh
Whatever his
yeah,
name
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So he's in it. I think maybe it's might one of his first films or something. I don't know. I have no idea. But uh I remember watching that movie with this roller coaster emotions because it's like this young love affair, and then they have like the time of their life because they're like in Italy, and then like all of a sudden he goes back to like America, and then they're no longer like it. And I'm like, I remember getting up from that and being like, I have to go drown myself in the bathtub because I was like, it was so sad. Even like before, like not even like crying sad, more that just like that heart wrenching. I can't have any emotion or any like just like
Dude, I fucking cried at the end of
oh
Barbarian. That was a horror movie.
oh yeah yeah like, that was a good horror movie though.
That was so sad though. That poor incest baby mother thing. She just wanted to
Oh
save her and have a baby, and I was just, I can't do dramas and sad. Like I'm too
mm-mm,
emotional.
mm-mm.
I get attached to the characters,
Absolutely
and especially
absolutely.
in TV shows like Game of Thrones fucking ruined me. House of
Uh-huh.
Dragons, I just finished
Uh-huh.
season 1. I was sitting on the couch today sobbing.
Yep.
I get too attached because I care.
I just care so
I just
much.
care so much. But you know what? It's also good because it helps you. Like, nothing's better for my soul when I am feeling the feels than Disney. Nothing for me.
I
I
agree.
I just want to watch something like Moana.
Or the Hallmark Channel. Have you ever watched that shit? God damn it. God
No.
damn, every show. And it never stops. It just keeps going.
Yeah, I think that one would ruin me too.
Oof. I'm over here. We're having a nice meal like at Thanksgiving or something. My mother-in-law has it on the TV, and I'm over here like invested. Oh, sorry, you guys are watching. There's a story I've got about crying at a movies. So Cody invited me to Endgame, and it's a Marvel movie, the last Marvel
Oh
movie.
my
Yeah.
God. Are you
And
bringing up Iron Man?
listen,
I will
listen.
cry right now.
Absolutely. I am. I am. Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. Warning, warning. Danger, danger. So we're sitting there, we get there, right? And we get our little movie snacks or whatever. I think we toked down a little bit too before we went in. So then we're in there and I'm trying to be cool because I want him to like invite me again, right? Like I'm like, oh, I got a movie date. This will be amazing, right? So, and neither one of us have seen this, right?
Right.
So we get to the part. I'm already kind of shooken up because of the whole like Scarlett Johansson's character and Hawkeye, like that whole scene has already happened and we had to let one
Ugh,
go and
dude,
heart.
same.
But that was a little bit easier. I could like just kind of like, it's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's like
I'm
you're just water. You're
fine.
leaking
Yeah.
at this
I'm
point.
just leaking.
You're not
Yeah.
full
I'm
dead.
not right. I'm just
Ugh,
kind of, and sometimes I would just let it run down my face because I think you could see that less than like my hand coming up because that's a
yeah.
sure sign that I'm crying, right? So I would just let it kind of, and then I would maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I'm weird. So, well, then Iron Man dies, and I'm over here trying not to be this person that's like, I'm like
Dude.
my chest is like I'm trying to hold this in. My nose is running. My eyes are running. Like
I,
can't
s- I
even.
sobbed so fucking hard. Those are also the moments when I realize how much I like a character. I did not
Yeah,
realize before
I
that
did
moment
not
how much I
either.
loved Iron Man, and I was just like,
Well, no, he's got a wife and a kid. I mean, I can't.
and they take us to his funeral, and
Oh,
everybody's crying.
oh, I think I
Oh
was
man,
ruined. Ruins me.
that was a fuck. Yeah, that was.
Ah, give me something scary any day of the week because those
Yeah,
movies
dude.
fucking ruin me. I can't.
I can't either.
I'm gonna have to go into a therapist just to talk about Iron Man's not a real man. I know.
I know, but my fucking God, that's like, oh, what is it? Um, home. Home with the
Oh,
dogs.
The Impossible Journey.
No,
No.
no.
Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound. That movie scarred me for life.
Absolutely. I can't watch it.
That movie scarred me for fucking life.
Can't watch it. I watched it twice because I do science experiments, right? Watched it the first time, cried through the whole thing. I was
Whole
like, well, I
thing.
was clearly on my period or something, right?
Nope.
Watched it the second time, still cried through the whole thing.
Whole fucking thing. Whole thing. Whole entire thing. It's like I see the subtitle sobbing.
Exactly. It's gotten bad enough where I was reading 101 Dalmatians to Trinity and like a little like would come up and I'm like, what the fuck?
This is why when you guys ask me and Nicole, have you seen this horror movie? We will tell you yes, because we've
Yes.
seen almost all of them, because that is what's on most of the time. Right now, we are watching Peaky Blinders. And I just
That
dramas,
man
dude.
is
There's so many times though where he's almost died, his brother died, his other brothers almost died, and I'm crying almost every episode now that we're in season
mhm.
5. And I'm like, I told Jordan the other night, I was like, I'm about done with this damn TV show. He's like, why? It's so good. And I'm like, I'm crying almost every episode. I can't.
Absolutely.
I
Every episode.
can't.
It's
I need horror.
exhausting. Right. It's exhausting. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. But if you need a good cry, definitely that's the way to do it.
Um, yeah. I mean, I got some movies to cry to that way. It also helps with getting if you need to get your cry on. And I suggest everybody to do this is if you got a time that's home alone and you get to do it, watch some movies that make you cry because it will be amazing.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're like me and you got family, you're not home alone all the time, you got a partner, like send them on a little journey, tell them to spend the night somewhere so that you can like cry it out by yourself, just to have that moment. And I think that's part of self-love too, is just letting it out. Like sometimes you don't need anybody to witness the fact that you're sad.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Because sometimes you just need to like have that moment for yourself to like release the floodgates.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Release the gate.
You gotta let it out or it comes out weird. So, you know, you could do Stale Magnolias. Titanic was a big one for
Oh,
me.
fuck the notebook.
Oh, The Notebook. That's why I have not watched that movie.
That I want to watch it with you so bad. Because then we
Ugh.
won't feel dumb because we'll just be snotting together.
Oh my God.
It's so rough.
I'll come home. They'll be like, what's wrong with you? We
I
watched The
have
Notebook. Don't talk
it.
to me.
I have to have her watch it, you guys, because she'll never understand how we're going out together if she doesn't.
I'm fine. I got the Cliff Notes.
No, it's
Let
not
me
the
tell you,
same.
I watched one part of Encanto. Was that Disney movie?
Incantanto.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's it. That's it.
Uh-huh.
So I watched one part of that movie. I came in my cousin's house. She's got a 3-year-old. They were watching it. I came to pick up my daughter, sit there. I sat there for like 15 minutes, right? Just watching this one segment, sobbing. I don't even know what's going on. Don't even know what's going on. Just sobbing.
Yeah, that one was rough. Again, Disney.
Disney.
Disney. It's freaking Disney.
Jesus.
What time is it? Oh, dang. Look at
Oh,
us go.
wow.
We had a lot to talk about with this, you guys.
We
Self-love
really
is like
did.
a big ass topic.
Did we just talk for 2 hours
We sure
ish?
did. Welcome
Wow.
to the longest episode yet, peeps.
And it's about love.
Love and
What's your
marriage.
favorite love movie, show, whatever?
Insidious. I'm just kidding. Can I say hereditary? I'm kidding. Um,
I mean, you can.
uh,
I only say this because I wanted to say that it was Twilight. Mine's Twilight.
yeah, Twilight is yeah, yeah, I guess I would consider that more fantasy in my head, you know what I mean? So, I guess my favorite
The books were more romantic,
yeah,
really.
the books were phenomenal. Let's be honest, I fucking devoured
Hmm.
those in like days. Um, my favorite love movie, I guess, yeah, would just have to be The Notebook. I mean, I haven't watched it in a really long time because, like I said, it fucking ruins me. But
Hmm.
the story is just beautiful. There's a lot of drama in it, and because also I have to say this might not be a love story, but honestly, it kind of is. It's also Forrest Gump. I love that him and
Aw.
Jenny have a baby at the end, and she brings him in for like, you know what I mean, the baby and like,
Yeah, yeah.
but The Notebook just has a lot of like it's like that timeless, like, we should be together, but we can't be together. And so we're going to fight each other because we can't be together, but we're going to love each other through the end of our days and we're going to die together. I haven't watched it in forever and I probably won't watch it until I try to make her watch it with me, which
Ugh,
might not happen. And I think I'm okay with it because, like I said, that fucking movie wrecked me. But if I had to pick one, I think that would be it because it was a good movie. Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling.
Kate, McAdams, is it Kate?
Uh,
Um, she was in The Time Traveler's Wife.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I forget what her name is, though.
Yeah, she's in it as well. She's the other main
Wow.
character. Oh, so good. Rachel McAdams. There it is.
That's it.
Finally
Yeah.
came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that had to be it, man.
Books are another one that get me going too.
Yeah.
Like I remember reading the second Harry Potter one and crying at the end because I was attached to Jenny. Jenny was my and
This
the
is what
twins
this
when
is what
they died. Like,
I want you to read the Court of Thorn and Roses series so bad because it is the high it's a human turns into a high fae and it's just it reminds me of Twilight in a different realm.
in a
And
different
it's
realm.
just so the two boys fight over her. The bad boy gets the girl. The bad boy almost dies. Third book, I was sobbing the whole end. That there's like this many pages to the end of the book, and I'm sobbing straight through them. I actually saw on TikTok the other day this woman's reading the end, and she's like, she's like full meltdown, and I was like,
Oh wow.
fucking been there. Oh,
I think Twilight I did too, but I chalked that up because I just had Trinity, so I had like 3 months off or whatever. And I remember being like, I just put her back down. It was like 2:30 in the morning, like just put her down. I'm in the bathroom so I don't wake anybody up. And I'm reading the second book and he leaves. I had to go like to the back to see if he came back because I
and
was
he,
almost
and
not going to read it if
uh-huh.
he was gone.
Oh, that was such a hard read.
Oh,
That's the only book that I had a hard time reading because every day I was like, I feel like I'm depressed.
right,
And
right.
reading her being depressed in her room and also feeling depressed, this is horrible. I don't want to keep reading
Oh,
this.
especially when you turn the page and it said September. And that's all it said, right? Like just one page and a month. That's all it said. Oh, when I
Yeah.
turned the page and saw that, that hit me so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
That was rough.
Hmm.
Well,
Okay.
if you're still
Well,
here
on
with our
that.
rambling, I guess we are. I will put in the cliff notes for those that make it this far, if you do, that I guess
You're
we kind of
welcome.
ramble at a certain point just
We
in
do.
life. So you're welcome, getting to know us better. But yeah, that was our self-love and love books and love movies and all the things.
All the things. I don't know.
Well,
I think self-love is like this, right?
yeah, exactly.
I love you, Cassie.
And I love you, Mom,
Hmm.
because feeling saying Nicole with that's weird. But I do love you. I was gonna say, plus, like, you guys, love is just beautiful. Especially like once you start hitting that, what I would consider what Eckhart and all them were talking about with love, where it's like it's not just about the emotional bond anymore. It's further, there's this underlying thing. I would consider that unconditional love.
Yeah.
And I very much feel that with you. You could kick me in the nuts and I'd be like, I love you. But like I still love her.
If it was toxic, it'd be fine too, you know.
Yeah, I'd be like, that fucking sucks. I'm pretty mad at you, but I still love you. I'm not
Still love
going
you.
anywhere.
God,
Yeah,
right?
it's it happens, man. And I feel like it just goes to show like the more you heal, the more you love yourself, the more you can create love around you that is easy.
Absolutely. And they just come out of, nowhere. Like you came in, this started this whole thing, and then here we are today, right? Like that's exactly
Absolutely.
what happened. You
Yep,
picked up a job.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Go us.
Go
And here we
us.
are now, heathens for the people. All
Heathens.
right, I think we're gonna cap it now, peeps. We will see you in the next one.
Next one. Bye.